Hi everyone. So thanks very much for the intro, Brett. Brent, sorry. Today we're going to be talking about this tool that we made, me and Irfan, who's going to be talking a little bit later. It's called Arrows.app. Now, what is it? What is it for? Well, it's on the web. It's a web application, and it's about pictures of graphs. If you're a Neo4j user or you're interested in Neo4j, one of the first things that you might come across is you want to make a picture to show your colleagues or your the other members of your team. You want to might make a presentation about your graphs, or you want to make some documentation of how your graphs are set up. And this is such a common need. We created this tool called Arrows.app to make it really easy to draw pictures that should look great in your documents and presentations. So the stage of this at the moment, it's an experimental product, and what we say is Arrows.app is powered by Neo4j Labs. So Neo4j Labs is something you can go and check out on the web. There's a whole load of different experimental projects that are in various stages of development, and we want to get them out to users as quickly and as early as possible, and get feedback and continue to develop them, hopefully into a full-fledged, proper, officially supported product at some point in the future, or available to the community in some other way. Now, this Arrows.app is about drawing pictures. That means it's a graph visualization product. Neo4j, we do quite a lot of graph visualization elsewhere, and I just want to make sure I call out the two big things we've got going on in graph visualization. We've got Neo4j Bloom, which you will have seen in various talks through the day. This is our visualization focus tool. So that's really the way that we'd encourage people to go and explore their graphs visually. If you're any kind of Neo4j user, you've also come across Neo4j Browser, which includes visualization in the core of that product and gives you nice pictures of graphs. Now, Irfan and I, we've actually, as it turns out, between us, we've worked on both of these products. Irfan from the beginnings of Bloom. I worked on Neo4j Browser many years ago, specifically on the visualization. So having done that interactive visualization, we decided to also create this tool as an experimental project. Great. Well, having set the scene, I'm gonna let Irfan go and tell us how to use this tool, what it's all about, and hopefully you'll get the hang of it. So over to Irfan.
Hi everyone, I'm Irfan. I will give you a quick intro into Arrows and show you basic usage. So I'm going to now navigate to Arrows.app. So if you like, you can also navigate in your computers. And Arrows welcomes us with a already node added to the scene. And I'll quickly show you around. So on the right, we have the inspector that we can add things to the elements here or change stuff. Here we can create new arrows diagrams or import them, export them, and various other tools on the right. Later on, we will use them through our presentation. So basically, as we mentioned, Arrows is about creating pictures of graphs. And the thing I like most about Arrows is you can quickly create actually a relationship and a node. So as you see this node here, if I approach it and you will see the ring appearing, so you just need to come close to the borders of the node, and you will see this ring appearing. And if you just click and drag from that, you see this shadow-like node. And when you just release it, here we have our nodes and relations together, and very quickly. And we can do the same thing to come over here, create another node. And if you want to just create a relationship, you can use the same gesture. Only this time, if you land on the other node, it will just create a relationship. but it won't create another node. Here we had a trio quickly, nodes connected. And if I guess you realized the guides appearing when I am creating stuff. So I will quickly talk about them. So here you see the basic ones. Basically, when you move nodes, it will try to snap the horizontal, being horizontal aligned with another node or being vertically aligned. And another complex stuff is actually it can also try to create uniform length relationships. So in this scenario, it will be snapped around the circle on the central node, let's say. And actually, we can also have a more coolly. You see, you can actually put in a very nice positioning. We know that this looks good, and it also helps people actually perceiving the data when you have a lot of them. And from here, so this is basically how you can create nodes relationships very quickly. And I will actually now go back by undoing with Command Z and leave a single node here. And I will start actually creating a movies graph. And of course, if you start a movies graph, so by the way, the quickest thing to add some caption is double click. And of course, any movie graph should start with Tom Hanks. No surprises there. And at Tom Hanks, and let's remember a movie of Tom Hanks. I guess that would be one of them. Should be. By the way, you can click Enter or any key. It will directly toggle into edit mode. Let's say Cloud Atlas in this case. And then who else acted in Cloud Atlas? I guess we can say, oops, sorry, Hugo Weaving. Position Betterly, and this. I'm going to give relationship to some types.
I think we've got the wrong camera on at this point.
Oh. Cool.
Okay.
Okay, sorry, I think you're seeing it for the first time. Should I?
Yeah,
all right, so we have been creating those relationships all along. Sorry for looking at the wrong screen. So I will quickly show it. So basically, I will at least do this one. So you can engage a node, just to repeat that. And when we see this ring around it, we can drag along to another node, and we'll have this relationship here. I'm going to just finish my relationship type here and do the same one here. And something is wrong here. Likely we can reverse a relationship and have it here. And if you would try to remember who was the director of Cloud Atlas, we can say Lena Wachowski was one of them. And say directed. And actually, there is another movie that connects Hugo Weaving and Lena Wachowski, which would be The Matrix, for sure. Sorry. This in and let's see. Matrix. And we have also, we can use all the elements of property graph model here. For instance, we can say Hugo Weaving and Tom Hanks and also Lena Wachowski are all people. So we can add person label to them. And you might also want to make the movies, assign them movie label. And before moving on to themes, I think we also want to make these titles as a property, for instance. Let's go with what we can do is we can select all of them and make the caption use as properties. That's long. I'll just quickly show you a nice thing here. Actually, we can change property sizes for all of the nodes. I think 16 would be nice. And then, so we also want to the name of these properties. Just for the movies, we want to make them title. You can see. And before handing off to Alistair, I want to show you a bit of the themes we have here. This one was the chunky theme, but we also have like the balloon theme, the good old browser theme. And if you want to just more like iconic drawings, you can use a minimal structure here. I'll apply a balloon theme. And as you see, it's a bit nicer, a bit more stylish if you prefer this one. And one way for handling Alistair, I will actually share him this diagram as a link. So here we have different ways of export import, which will Alistair show you soon. One way of is actually Arrows can generate a link for you. So actually I can drop and then drag this link into a Finder. You won't see my Finder window, but I will be dropping into this Alistair's MacBook Pro in my AirDrop. So now we can hand over to Alistair, please.
Thanks very much, Irfan. That's fantastic, and you've also saved me a lot of work, because you can see just at the top of my screen here, you've just sent me by AirDrop this website, and I'm just going to take the graph just by clicking accept here, and handily enough, that's opened in a in a window, and I'm straight into Arrows.app with all the data that Irfan just made, which is really amazing. That's like really convenient to have got that. Now I've got all the data here. Remember, Arrows is all about pictures. So what can I do with my pictures? Well, I can click this download export button, the same one that Irfan clicked earlier, and I'm going to go to this first tab, PNG. And this has got images that are nicely cropped, so it's better than taking a screen grab of your web browser. These pictures are exactly the right shape, and I'm actually going to use it in a presentation. So let's just grab the image here. I'm going to go up to my Google presentation. I can just drop straight into there, and hey presto, here's my picture. And as you notice, it's got a transparent background. I don't need to have that, but that means any kind of background graphics will show up nicely as well. So if you want a really quick picture into your presentation, this has got to be the way to do it. There can't be any better. There can't really be any better way to do this. Let's have a look at how we're actually storing the graph. Now we've done the sharing. Let's look at storage. So basically, there are two ways in Arrows.app to store your data at the moment. you can either store it in your web browser, and that's what we've been doing entirely so far. So when you start off Arrows.app, that's where your graph is stored. It's all on your computer. It doesn't go to any Neo4j servers or anything, and there's no need to log in or do any kind of registration, which is super convenient. However, you might use a different computer from time to time, so or you want to share with your colleagues. And in that situation, you could share a link like we just did then, but it won't update automatically. So we also support Google Drive, which is what we happen to use extensively at Neo4j anyway. But that means you can store your graphs in Google Drive alongside all your presentations and spreadsheets, just like you, just in exactly the same way. And that means the data is going into the cloud, and it's easy to collaborate with others. Let's see how to do that. Here's the graph right here. Let's give it a name. I'm going to call it movies graph. And then it's pretty easy. I can just click this button, save to Google Drive. And now it's up there. It's up in Google, and I can use the nice share button, exactly like I would get in to share any other kind of document, and just copy the link here to share it with some colleagues. So I could send it back to Irfan, but he'd also get all the updates that I make over here. Okay, that's a storage. Let's look at in some more detail at the import and export. The most important kind of export that I'm going to do is actually to Neo4j itself. Like where do graphs naturally live? Where's their natural home? Well, it's in Neo4j. And it turns out I've got all the data here for creating a perfect graph. So let's look at one of the other export options. And it's actually, we still had SVG for scalable graphics. The next one along is Cypher. Here's Cypher that contains all of the text that Irfan kindly typed in for me, and I could copy it to the clipboard. Here, am I going to do something more fancy? I'm going to click Run in Neo4j Browser, and you see that open directly in Neo4j Browser inside Neo4j Desktop. You'll see at the top of the screen, and that means I can simply press with one keystroke. I press Command Enter, and magically I've now got 5 nodes in the database. Let's have a look at them in a little visualization, and yeah, they look pretty familiar to me. It's the same structure that we had before. So where it was like this, wasn't it? No, Lana and then Hugo up there. That's what we had. So exactly the same graph that we're looking at in Arrows is now in Neo4j. So I can run some other queries on it. Next up, I'm just going to look at the other ways that we can share and export. So if we look at this JSON format here, this is actually the internal format that we're using at. It's actually the internal format that we're using inside the Arrows tool. So this is another way that you could maybe check this into source control if you wanted to, or you could do something, or you could simply copy and paste it to your colleagues. Here we already looked at this. This is a URL, and the great thing is all the data is in the URL. There's no server-side kind of component needed. Going back to JSON for a second, what's nice about this is I can copy and paste. So suppose I take some of these nodes here. If I do just simply Command C, and then I went and made another diagram, I can paste directly in, and I get exactly the nodes that I copied a moment ago. I choose the same theme, and it will look exactly the same. Now, I can do something more. Now we can copy and paste. There's some other things we maybe could think about doing. What if we could copy and paste from other applications? Well, you can actually do this. Where's your data at the moment? Maybe you've got a small amount of data in a spreadsheet. Well, let's try and look for a spreadsheet. Here's me Googling for Google example spreadsheet. You can really try this, and you will get the top link. Let's try clicking on that. the top link is this sheet called example spreadsheet. What we're going to do is go into here, just start off with an empty graph. I'm going to select all of the data in this spreadsheet. I'm going to copy it onto my clipboard. I go to Arrows. Let's call this spreadsheet. And I'm just going to paste in. And look at that. I get, straight away, I get a whole load of nodes. And if we zoom in, I can zoom in with normal sort of mouse pinch controls. Here's all the cells from that spreadsheet, just created there as nodes. Really convenient, but it's not a graph. It just looks like a load of dots at the moment. So let's go and see if we can turn it into a graph. Zoom out again. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to, at the moment there's no relationships. Let's try and make some relationships. Now handily enough, I can actually create lots of relationships at the same time. So what I've done is I've actually selected all the nodes, and then I don't know whether you can see that, but I've created relationships between all of these nodes all at the same time. Pretty convenient. This is the first column, I think was gender on here. So let's turn all of those captions, it's multiple values, but I can convert them to properties just like Irfan did earlier. Let's call that gender. Now, what that means I can do now is I can take the relationships, and I've got a special button, inline as properties. Let's look at a node now, zooming in. Now, we've got Andrew, for example, is male now. Very nice. Let's do a little bit more of this. Let's go and create a relationship from all of the students to the next node, which we just look at that. That is class, we'll call that. Oh dear. Obviously that's going to happen. Great. And then we'll go to the nodes. They've again got multiple properties, same trick here again. Class, but what we can do is something really clever here. We can actually merge all the nodes with the same class. And suddenly I've got a kind of mixture of, it's done some crazy stuff with the relationships, and we've got all the lines crossing. We're just going to give these nodes a label. We'll call it class. Right, next up is state. Okay, let's call this state. Cool. And we'll give these a label as well. We'll call this state. And we've got the majors. You might want to make sure you're watching in HD, by the way, because there's a lot of detail on this page. If you can't read, hopefully that will help a little bit. We'll call these major, and we will use the properties as subject. And then we're going to merge on the values. You see it's getting a little bit more complicated again. They've almost converted the entire spreadsheet. We just have to go to the activity. Let's get all of these. Same thing here. We're going to go properties, and we call this activity. Again, we're going to merge on the values. And then one last thing, we're going to make all of these students. It's going to be our label. Right, and then we've got a pretty good graph. I just need to give a label on these actually. Activity. Good, cool. All right, we're ready now to turn this into a graph, but I'll just quickly go to Neo4j. We'll just make a new database for this. Then I'll use the students. Great. Back to here. Let's get the cipher. Let's run it in Neo4j Browser. And now magically, I've got that whole graph that we were looking at in Neo4j. I've got all of the data there straight into a graph. So that's a really simple way of getting the data into. That's a really simple way of getting the data. We said had from a spreadsheet to this format TSV. It's tab separated variables. We copied and pasted into Arrows.app. We took cipher out, and then we're straight into a database. So really, if you want a really simple way to get some data and try it out in the database, it's a perfect way to go. So that is, I think we've covered all of the material. I'm just going to recap on the spreadsheet to graph. What did we do? We copied from the spreadsheet. We pasted. We used the captions as properties. That's a really clever little feature for you in Arrows. We created a load of relationships, and then we combined those and inlined relationships until we got the cipher that we wanted. That's everything from us. So thank you very much, and I hope you enjoy using Arrows.app. We definitely welcome feedback, especially via the GitHub issues. There's lots of really interesting feedback over there. So thanks very much for that. And yeah, hopefully it's useful creating pictures going forward.